So let's talk about skills. We hear about them all the time, whether it's the 21st century skills movement. Hello, newsflash, we're so well into the 21st century, or the skills that the World Economic Forum designates that workers need to have, whether it be by 2020 or whatever year it's going to be. As we think about this evolving workforce, we need workers that have all these new skills. So over the years, I've really been thinking about it. Is it that we really want or need skilled workers? Skills focus on the what in terms of abilities that our kids need to perform a specific task or activity, but they don't necessarily provide a connection to the how. This is where competencies come into play. You could be skilled at throwing a baseball or hitting a baseball, but totally incompetent as to how the game is played. So as we think about competencies outline the how. They contain goals and objectives that will be accomplished. They are much more detailed and much more nuanced and define the requirements for success in a broader and more inclusive terms than skills do. It's not that skills are not important. Skills are one part of helping our kids become competent learners. So when we think about succeeding in the new world of work, what do our kids need to be able to do? They need to demonstrate the right mix of skills, knowledge, and abilities, and on-the-job attributes. So when we think about a skill as a practical or cognitive demonstration of what a student can do, competencies are a proven use of skills, knowledge, abilities that illustrate mastery of learning by solving problems. So as we think about really drilling this down a little bit more, skills versus competencies. Skills are one component of helping our kids become competent learners. With competencies, they incorporate a skill, but they're much more. They're this dynamic combination of abilities, attributes, and behaviors, as well as knowledge that is fundamental to use this skill aligned to a learning outcome. And that's the key, is how are kids using these skills that they're going to actually apply. Are we taking into account mindset, behavior, aptitude, motivation? All of these are so important. When we want our kids to think at the highest levels of knowledge taxonomy and apply that knowledge, they need much more than skills. And if we want kids to think and apply, and really become these competent learners, it's how we engage them in authentic problem solving that combines what our kids need to know, but more importantly, what are they able to do, and how to determine how well they are able to do it. So, as we think about it again, it's not that communication, collaboration, creativity, global awareness as skills aren't important, but how are we helping our kids become competent in those areas? So again, these are just my thoughts and ramblings on, skilled versus competence. I might be skilled at speaking and writing, but that's not good enough. I want to be competent. I want to be able to reflect, to improve, to know that there's always areas for growth, and that there is much more than black or white. And I think competencies really come into the gray area, and learning is really about the gray area. All kids learn differently. The criteria of how we learn is different. Also taking into aspects of when we learn, what we learn, why we learn. So I guess as we think about whether we see as teachers in our classrooms or as leaders, how are we developing our kids to become more competent? How are we looking at the convergence of not just the standard and not just the skill, but how those standards and skills are applied across a wide array of indicators? So that's just my thoughts and ramblings. Would love to hear on social media what you think. You might agree, disagree, but should we be moving more towards developing competencies in our kids? Thanks for listening, everybody.